No, not at all. Not at all. Not even for a minute. I wouldn't even think about it. I'm sorry. I don't want that pain back. I don't want that hip pain back. I don't want all my muscles to ache. The brain fog that I got rid of. There's an enormous amount of mental illness that I recognize now that I was suffering from. I was suffering from really a lot larger amount of depression than I thought I was suffering. I thought I was just not happy. No, I was depressed. I was very much, probably clinically depressed. And I was just not a happy guy. I was miserable. I was crabby. I grump about everything. My wife hated to be in traffic with me. I would just bitch my way through every traffic jam and everything. I would complain and people, and I was miserable.
All right, welcome. We have with us today, I'm very happy to bring Bill, aka Snohomish Bill, from originally Woodstock, I think. But Bill, I don't want to spoil the whole thing. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your background.
I'm originally from upstate New York. I lived for the last 10 years. I've been out here in the west, in the northwest, in Snohomish, actually, Snohomish, Washington. I moved from Woodstock, New York, 10 years ago. Lived there for 25 years. I'm a musician, so I'm a singer-songwriter from Woodstock. I'm a cliche. So I moved out here 10 years ago, and I've been playing music out here and everything. And I used to work in the tech industry as well, because if you're a musician, you have to have a day job. But yeah, and I like out here. I love it out here in the Northwest. It's really beautiful. And
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we live in the same town, and of course, we've met in person several times. And you've been to the house, and I've seen you a couple of times. I heard you sing, and quite a talented musician and good guitarist. And
and that little,
of course, met your
the little festival that you came to last year is coming up again at the end of May.
Oh yeah, well, I think I'm going to be in Austin because I'm just about to embark on just a ridiculous amount of traveling I got to do. Unfortunately, it's good, but at the same time, it wears you out a little bit. I guess the reason, obviously, we're doing this is because you've had a pretty significant health transformation over the last several years since you've been using diet to do that. So tell us about where you were, how you got there, and what have you done?
Let me jump back to 1989. I was weighing about 90. About 1990, I was weighing almost 300 pounds, and I was depressed. My father had just died young. He was 64. He smoked his whole life, and he killed himself, really, with cigarettes and drink and all that. He had that habit. He was a World War II veteran, and he never really talked about it. So I'm sure some of that was in the back of his head. Yeah, and when he died, I got very depressed, and I ate everything, and I blew up, and I gained a lot of pounds. I was about 350 pounds. The doctor, at the time, I went to the doctor for actually feeling sick. I was feeling like a flu for months, and it wouldn't go away. He diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome, and he also told me I was pre-diabetic, but by today's numbers, I would have been diabetic because they've changed the number that they call diabetic. Back then, I was diabetic. Type 2 diabetes. And then later, I was declared type 2 diabetes as well. But that doctor was a smart guy. I think today he might have been a carnivore. He looked at me and he said, if you cut out what they call the 4 white carbs, white rice, white flour, pasta, and potato, that'll help. And I did. So I worked at cutting those down and sugar as well. And I lost some weight. But in 2000, I got married. My wife and I got married in 2000, and I was still 306 pounds. It was very heavy still. And you probably saw some of those pictures of me then. And I lost a few pounds over the years. I kept trying. I was still about 280 pounds a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. A little over a year and a half ago, I had been watching you and Dr. Berry and a variety of other carnivore doctors. The pandemic is what got me watching. I had nothing to do but sit home and watch videos. So I was watching all the crazy videos online, all the Sasquatch videos and the UFOs and all the crazy stuff and diet things. And I started watching that stuff, and I started watching these crazy diets where people are eating just meat and hearing the results and noticing that some of these people were doctors, not just people, but doctors who were eating just meat and saying that this was actually healthy. I was amazed. And so for 2 years, I watched videos of yours, Dr. Berry's, Dr. Kilt, Dr. Chafee, all these wonderful people that have this great information. You guys put yourselves out there and you step forward with good information. And I absorbed it. And finally, a year and a half ago, actually September, in 22, I decided I needed to do something. Enough watching, time to do. I put myself on a carnivore diet. I just started eating beef. I didn't do a lot of research other than what you guys were doing. But then after I started doing that, I started reading everything I could find and paying attention to my health. Something I'd never.
Hey, Bill, let me just interject or ask you something here, because what was the motivation or the thing that said time to do and not just watch? What was it in your mind or in your life that said, okay, now is the time to do it? What finally gave you the impetus to go?
Yeah, I heard in these talks that I was hearing people give online, I was hearing people say that they had no longer had diabetes. They no longer had arthritis. Now, I was walking around with arthritic hips. I had to use a cane to walk. I couldn't climb 2 flights of stairs without sitting down in exhaustion for a little while. My muscles hurt. Chronic fatigue syndrome, if people don't understand what chronic fatigue syndrome is, it's also in other countries, it's called myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's actually an illness. In this country, many doctors didn't believe it existed. They would give people depressants, antidepressants. Think, oh, you're just depressed. You're not. No, I was sick. When you get any exercise with chronic fatigue syndrome, your muscles become inflamed, your joints become inflamed. You just get inflammation through your body, and it's horrible. I would carry groceries in from the car with my wife, and I would have to sit down for an hour with sore arms and sore back. My back was out every year. If I just bent over the wrong way, my back would be out and in pain and full muscles and stuff. There was a lot of inflammation in my body, and I saw a lot of these people like yourself talking about how this is the best anti-inflammation, first of all, that you can do. But it also takes care of a lot of illness. So I thought, let's try it. What the heck? It ain't going to kill me. I like meat. I would rather eat meat than vegetables. I've always disliked vegetables. So as a kid, there's a story that my parents always told that when my father was feeding me as a baby, he put 3 spoonfuls of peas in my mouth at a time, one after another, and I wouldn't swallow it. And I got this worst look on my face, and then finally I just went and blew it all in his face. That's how I feel about vegetables today, even. I don't love veggies. I ate them because I was told I was supposed to. Now I have a whole different view on vegetables. I know they're not right. I hear Dr. Chafee talking about how the plants are trying to kill you, and I don't necessarily argue that point. Maybe they're not personally trying to kill you, but they don't want you to eat them. That's the point. I found out that a lot of the veggies that I was eating were putting toxins in my body, were creating a lot of this inflammation. All the carbs were doing bad things to me. I realized I needed to cut carbs more than anything. I was doing sort of a modified keto for about 2 years before I got to this, but very clumsily. I wasn't following a keto diet. I was by accident eating mostly meat, but veggies and carbs and bread and all of that, and candy, all kinds of bad things that I shouldn't eat. Ice cream, and I no longer eat any of that stuff. But I did at the time, and that was my problem. And I tried to cut out these things by eliminating this or that food. After I watched all these videos, I realized the problem was that all the food that I was eating was bad for me, was not helping me except for the meat, except for the beef, really. That's what I learned. One of the things I learned was really beef is the magic meat, or ruminants in particular. Ruminants they have all the vitamins and minerals that we need, except for electrolytes. I take electrolytes now, and that's the only thing that I feel like I need to supplement with. A little magnesium, a little potassium, and I'm good.
Yeah, you eat a lot of beef, and beef is, to my understanding or my belief, is incredibly nourishing, and it does contain, I think, probably pretty much everything we need to exist and probably thrive and survive and all that stuff. But let me ask you, so how much weight? You were 280 when you started this. Where are you at today, Bill? I know, like you said, you went to Europe and you fell off the wagon a little bit and gained some back, but where do you sit these days?
Right now, I lost all the way down to 189, which was my high school weight. That's amazing to me. I actually felt a little bit skinny. I felt like I was a little too light. I'm a big framed guy. So
yeah, you're tall. You're like, what, 6'3" or something like that, if I'm still. Yeah.
2% is tall, I guess. um, but it's, yeah, needed to gain a little back. I'm now about 10 to 15 pounds heavier than that. I'm a little over 200, but I pretty much float there between 200 and 205. I pretty much stay there now. And that's, I'm going to the gym, which I never joined before. After I started eating carnivore, I felt amazing. I felt so healthy. I've never felt this good. I still feel that way. But at the beginning, first 6 weeks, I was feeling amazingly good. I didn't understand why, but I was happy. The arthritis went away and hasn't come back.
Yeah, you no longer walk with a cane. You did I know back, I think it was maybe September. It was a while ago. You did the big challenge where you hiked up the top of the needle, the space needle.
They do a race to space, they call it. They have a whole bunch of people to climb the space needle in Seattle. It's to raise money for a cancer center, the Fred Hutch Cancer Center in Seattle. And so I was happy to try it. My wife said, why don't you try it this year? I said, what the heck? So I signed up, and my wife and I did it together, 832 steps, and I got them all. I walked all the way up and then wandered around at the top, feeling good.
Could you have imagined doing that 10 years ago?
Not even the first flight. I would have been a terrible mess. I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it. And no cane. I was amazed. So I just kept going and going and going. I was like, oh my God, no pain. Nothing happened. It was gone. I was waiting for like halfway up to have to stop and rest, and I didn't need to at all. We would pause every 10 flights or so just to catch our breath, then go again. And it was great. I managed to do it again. I'm going to do it again this year too when it comes around in October, just because I can. It's the first time in my life I could do something like that. I've never joined a gym either because I've always been pretty sedate, unfortunately, bad habits. And I'm a musician, so I've spent a lot of time just standing around or sitting around. My exercise was carrying equipment in and out of gigs. I'd go into a bar or a restaurant or something, play a gig. Used to be, I'd have a big PA system, carry in big speakers and all that. Those days are gone. Nobody has big, giant speakers like that anymore. PA systems, so I don't have to carry all that in. But I also stopped playing a lot. I'm not retired. I call myself semi-retired. Musicians never really retire. They just play less. But I was a musician then, and so I didn't really feel the need to get exercise. I get a lot of exercise carrying equipment in and out and doing a lot of standing for 4 hours to play a gig. And it would be enough exercise. I was not in shape, I would say, but I wasn't bad for all those years. I was doing okay. I moved a lot.
What happened with because you mentioned you were pre-diabetic, diabetic. What's going on with that these days?
Gone. It's gone. I used to test my blood every day and worry about what I ate. And if I ate something that was a little off, I would test it like an hour later just to see what it did to my system. And it was always sky high. No longer. My blood remains low normal. I'm way under 100, pretty much 70, 80 now, all the time in blood count.
So you lost near around 100 pounds at some point. You lost your diabetes. Your arthritis is basically gone. That's got to be pretty cool.
Strangely, which they say is incurable, isn't going to go away. It went away. I can exercise. I never joined the gym partly because of the chronic fatigue syndrome. When I couldn't work anymore, I probably should have joined the gym, but I couldn't do it. It would be too painful. So I didn't do anything like that. Now I joined a gym first time in my life, and I go up there a few times a week and jump on the machines and get some exercise. And I think what's going on is that I'm gaining a little weight because I'm building muscle, which I need to. I'm now 72. I'm not a spring chicken. So that muscle is going to go away if I don't do something, make it stay there. So,
yeah. It's one of those use it or lose it type of deals for sure. And I'm a huge proponent of strength training. Bill, let me ask you about, you said your father passed away, you got depressed. How has the diet, has it had any impact on your mental health, your cognition, any of those types of things?
Amazing. Yeah, I totally didn't expect this at all. I didn't expect it to improve my mental health, but it did. In 2016, one of the reasons I moved out here is my best friend back in New York moved out here to be with the woman he loved in Seattle area. And he and I were best friends since the early 80s, about 1980. We were buds. Another musician. We partnered together. We used to play duos all the time, play gigs together. He's another songwriter. In 2014, I moved out here, and the day I arrived, he was diagnosed with the fourth stage of lung cancer. I'd never smoked in his life. Never. He's always exercising. He's always eating the right food. He died in 2016, and I got depressed. He died in my arms, essentially. He was in the hospital, and he was suddenly feeling some pain in his chest, and I was holding him up, and the nurse came to give him some morphine because he was having heart pain. He had the blood clots in his legs, and I think that's what happened. He came up and got one, and he died right there in my arms. And it was a horrible feeling, horrible, and I was depressed for years after that, 2016 on. I was depressed. I was very depressed. The whole reason I moved out here, and not the whole reason, but certainly one of the first reasons I chose moving out here. And he was going to be here, and we were partnering, and he died. Boom. I was depressed. I was a mess. I drove my wife crazy. She was not happy about me at all at that time. I was miserable. I was crabby. I was not happy about anything. And I started gaining more weight again. And then the pandemic came along. Ooh, hello, fun. That wasn't fun. Finding what you guys were talking about online gave me something to focus on, that I could actually do something different. And I've always been the kind of guy that wants to try something new or goes for the odd idea. What the hell? And I saw that. I thought, let me try it. What the heck? If it's sitting home, nothing to do, let me just eat meat. So I started doing it. Within 6 weeks, I had no more, within probably a month, I had no more hip pain. I had no more diabetes problems, none of that. And my chronic fatigue syndrome, which was always there for 35 years, I've had that. Anytime I get any exercise, the pain would start. I would have to, okay, back off. I started walking every day. I walked further, and there was no more pain. There was no more problems. I started carrying things easily. I realized the chronic fatigue syndrome was just gone. Not something I expected at all. That was completely out of the blue. For you folks out there with chronic fatigue syndrome, it is not hopeless. Maybe it worked for me.
Let me ask you about your hip again. Did you ever have an x-ray of your hip?
No, I never had an x-ray, but I had a doctor tell me that I was probably likely in a couple of years headed for a hip transplant, that I was in a lot of pain, and he felt around it. And he said that he felt that there was probably some arthritic damage in there, and he didn't feel much cartilage, and I was walking partially on bone, which is one of the reasons my right hip was the worst at the time. And sometimes I literally couldn't walk unless I had a cane for a third leg, so to speak. But that has completely vanished. And even what I thought would still be pain, I go to the gym and I jump on the treadmill, and I start with a half a mile on the treadmill, and then I go off and I do all the different gym machines and exercises and leg exercises. And then I go back and I finish with another half a mile on the treadmill. And I don't have any hip pain. It's just gone. I'm very happy about that. And the chronic fatigue syndrome is gone. I'm able to plan things now. We couldn't plan anything with me. We'd have to plan on my not going often if we were going to a party or a gathering or going walks. Now my wife and I plan hikes and walks together all the time. Every week we plan a couple of walks, nice 3-4 mile walks and stuff. And I have no pain, no problem. I feel younger. I'm 72 and I feel like I'm aging backwards now. It's very strange, but I'm enjoying it.
It's interesting. Some of the things we attribute to aging, which are probably maybe not related to aging, they're just related to
your age. No, it's not necessarily your age. Possibly the crap you've been eating for the last 40, 50, 60 years. Crap for the last 70 years. And no longer. And
when you stop poisoning yourself, it's amazing how much better you often feel. There's a question. Let me ask you about your diet, Bill, because obviously carnivore diet, some people have different interpretations as to what that means. What does your diet look like? And there was a question particularly about, do you incorporate any type of intermittent fasting into your routine?
I do a little intermittent fasting every day. I don't eat anything until about the middle of the afternoon. I am not hungry. It's not like I'm trying. I'm just not hungry because I've had a steak the evening before, and that beef is very satiating. It lasts a long time. And I used to wake up hungry. I used to wake up with my stomach grumbling, and I'd have to run to the kitchen and get some toast or something. And now I'm not hungry at all. I'm not hungry right now. It's 9 o'clock. I have a cup of coffee. I still drink coffee. I think I get told that I shouldn't, but I do. I like coffee, but I cut it way back. And the coffee that we make now is 1/3 decaf. I buy a package of regular caffeinated coffee and 2 packages of decaf, and I mix them. So it's 1/3 caffeinated now. So we have very much less caffeine in our lives. My wife too. So we both feel better about it. So I only drink a couple of cups now. I used to drink like 4 or 5 cups a day. I used to have the cup in my hand all day long, walking around. Now I don't. I just have a cup in the morning, maybe 2. That's it. I don't use much dairy. I do eat a little cheese occasionally, but not really. But I don't use milk in my coffee. I use butter. I put butter in my coffee now. Butter is essentially cream without the solid. And sometimes I'll use cream, but usually I use butter because cream, I find, will stimulate things a little bit in the wrong direction. My weight will fluctuate in the wrong direction if I use too much cream. So I use butter for the most part. I put a big tablespoon or more of butter in my coffee, microwave it a little bit until it melts, and then use a whip it up and pour the coffee on it. It works wonderful. I now prefer it. I like butter in my coffee, and I think other people might too if they tried it.
There's a lot of people that do. That's something, the whole bulletproof thing that Dave Asprey was talking about 10 years ago. It started a little trend on that. But let me ask you, so your wife, Minda, I believe, has been supportive, but she's not on the carnivore diet. Is she fine with that still?
Yeah, I do most of the cooking. I cook steaks for both of us usually. I also cook a vegetable for her, or she'll make herself a salad. But that's about it. She's ketovore is where she is now. So she says that she doesn't want to do the whole full carnivore because she likes some of the vegetables. She likes to go to Asian restaurants and things like that are filled with a lot of veggies mixed and stuff. She wants to not give that stuff up. That's fine. So I cook a steak for both of us, and that's pretty good. She told me about 6 months in the carnivore diet, what a difference it made. She told me, she stopped me, she says, well, look, I may never do carnivore, but I don't want you to ever stop because it's doing wonders for you. So she's very happy about what carnivore has done to me. It's changed me completely.
Yeah, you gave your life back in a way, or even a life you never had, quite honestly, sounds like.
I feel like it gave me my life back, and I feel like I'm able to do things that I couldn't do before. And mentally, I feel so much healthier. My head just feels so much better. I think clearer. I can remember things better. I was losing memory problems all the time. That's actually part of chronic fatigue syndrome too. You have memory problems. I have a good memory now. I do pretty well.
And, how about you'd mentioned you're semi-retired musically, but I mean, has it impacted your ability to, be a musician, you think?
It's helping. It's making it possible for me to get back to it. I played a gig Saturday. Just this past Saturday was 420 I live in Washington, which has legalized marijuana and all that stuff. So 420 becomes a reason for a party. 420 is like code for marijuana or something like that.
I didn't know that. I don't know what that means.
Came out of California. Some high school kids would meet at 420 after school to smoke their joints and stuff. So 420 became code. Now 420, April 20th becomes marijuana day or something. I don't know. So 420, we got hired. A group of us played a gig as a sort of an all pot songs band, just for the heck of it. There's a lot of songs about smoking pot and marijuana and stuff, as you can imagine, from the 60s and 70s and all that. But I played a full gig. 3 hours I was up on stage, standing with my electric guitar around my neck, not light, and standing, singing, playing, and doing my thing. No pain, no problem. I was able to. I couldn't do that for years, all I could do if I was going to play at all, I might be able to play maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and I had to be sitting on a stool. Nothing more. Leveled up and playing, and I feel like I've gotten that back now, and I'm going to start booking gigs again, which I haven't done in 20 years, practically.
It reminds me that there was a Peter Tosh, one of the reggae legends. His song "Legalize It" is now all legalized, so they have nothing to sing about anymore because
you sang a bunch of songs that were wrong now.
Yeah, it's funny. Let me ask you about. You're fairly, I don't know, vocal about what you're doing. I mean, you share it with other people. But what has been the reception to your musical friends? Because I know there's a group that you hang out with of about 50 or so musicians. It seems like. How's that been when interacting with other folks?
When I first started this, they were telling me that you look great, but you're going to die. First started saying that, but because they're convinced. But a couple of them are interested now. Have been watching my results, and a couple have been trying it here and there. My sister has gone carnivore back east. My sister and two brothers back east. My sister and one brother both live in Maine. And so my brother is gone carnivore. I haven't talked to him lately, but he said he was going to try it and he's been doing it. And my sister has been carnivore, and her daughter, my niece, Emma, in her 20s, has been doing it some, and they feel better for it. They feel much better for it. They're doing better, and they're doing well. And my community around here, some of them here and there, I run into people all the time who say, oh, I know so-and-so started that diet, or there's a butcher at the local supermarket here in Hagen who is a carnivore. I've talked to him. He's a carnivore, and he started not that long ago. And so every time I go in there, I talk to him I say, hey, how you doing? You know, I took your training for being a coach because I wanted to help other people understand this and know about it. And I help coach people now and then. I have a number of friends that I'm helping to coach. A couple of a good friend is a songwriter, another songwriter friend. He's trying it. And his wife is a vegan, so it's push and pull with him.
Did you, when you had done this, was there a period of time where you hadn't seen your family for a while and you go back east and they're like, what the hell happened? You lost 100 pounds or whatever. Was there that moment?
I was telling them, I was showing the pictures all along, saying, look what I'm doing. And they were pretty amazed. I went back east to visit Paul. And every time I went to see a friend, they were like, whoa, what happened to you? Holy smoke. You're happy as on. They're amazed. I went and visited one good friend back east as a writer friend, and he and I used to spend a lot of time together. And he used to come to my gig, and we used to get together and talk a lot about the world. I get together with him when I go, he's now a full vegan, hardcore vegan, and he's very devoted to it. And we had dinner together. It was a hilarious ride. We went into order to go so we could go back home and eat at his place because we couldn't find a restaurant that would serve us both properly. That he wants strictly vegan and I'm strictly beef. We went to restaurants and he kept explaining. He said, yeah, we have exactly the opposite diet, completely opposite. And we laugh about it. We keep saying we should go on tour speaking to people about our different diets and how different it is. And we both feel completely healthy. Let people figure it out.
Have there been any major downsides to this diet? And if so, what are they?
I don't really have any. I can't really think of any other than the fact that it gets difficult to order when I go to a restaurant. My wife always said, start with him because it's always a little complicated. So I always have to say, yeah, I'll take the burger, no bun, no veggies on it, no ketchup or any of that stuff. Just the meat, please. Maybe some bacon, and maybe occasionally I'll get some cheese on it or not. But so ordering in restaurants is always a little complicated, and also choosing a restaurant can be complicated. I don't feel that I can easily go to a Thai restaurant or straight Chinese food or something, or at least American Chinese food, because it's so tied up with lots of veggies in there, and they do a lot of stir fry and stuff. But that doesn't work for me at all. I can't pick out the meat because it's been cooked in vegetable. People say, oh, just order that. No. So I'll go to a Mexican restaurant. I order the fajitas with no veggies in them, just the meat, and give everybody else my rice and beans if they want them. It's a little complicated, but other than that, it's not slightly inconvenient, but it's not a problem. And I don't feel any health problems at all.
Yeah, I can remember even years before I was a carnivore, I never liked a lot of vegetables. I hated tomatoes. I hated peppers. I hated onions. And I can remember going to like a Chinese restaurant. I like rice, and I go in there, be fried rice, and they would put onions in there. Even if I asked them not to, there'd still be onions in there. And I would sit there. You can imagine picking pieces of onion out of rice, and they're both white. And I would sit there I would spend 10 minutes dissecting my dinner before I could eat it because I pulled the damn onions out of there because I hated them. And then I would finally eat the meat and the rice or whatever. It is, and I'm just like I said, I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to a restaurant, I might get a piece of fish. Sometimes I'll do that if I go to a restaurant because I don't go very often, or certainly I'll get steak more 9 times out of 10. So
yeah, I'll get steak if I can. Yeah, I prefer steak.
Of course, the restaurant steaks are always 4 times the price and small. And I think the only places that make sense financially is just to go to one of these Brazilian churrascaria type places, and then you can do okay typically. But everything else is kind of a waste of money.
Korean places, the Korean ones that you go through and you pick whatever, the Mongolian, I think it is.
Mongolian barbecue, yeah.
Go through, pick out whatever you want in. I just go to the meat and I throw a huge bowl of meat. That's what I carry over to them. I say, here, as much as I can fit on there, a pile of meat.
Yeah, there's one in Leavenworth. I did that as well. I did the same thing and just how much meat can you fit in the damn bowl and this stuff?
I woke up with a stack like this. Okay.
How do you have a physician, Bill, that you go see, or are you done with that sort of stuff, or what's your story on that?
I had a physician. I'm supposedly in the quote evergreen network here that have different doctor groups and stuff. I used to go to a doctor in the evergreen crowd, and one swapped over to do something, and so I got handed off to another doctor, but neither of them really understood what I was doing. And I fired them. And then there was a third doctor I went to try somebody else. And I went to her and I told her what I did. She handed me a cup and said, pee in this cup then. And she tested the pee. She said, you have a lot of protein in your pee. So I think you're having damaged your kidneys. So you need to take lisinopril. She gave me a prescription, immediately a prescription for lisinopril because I'm, quote, damaging my kidneys. So I went home. I got the prescription filled. I went home and thought about it. I went online and started looking it up because I only eat protein. If all I eat is meat. So of course there's pea in my protein. There's there's protein in everything because I am consuming a lot of protein, a lot more protein than I used to. But I'm not damaging my kidneys by eating beef. And that's what she thought. I fired her thing. I haven't found a physician that I want to go to. I have a cardiologist that I hadn't seen for over a year since before starting Carnivore. I didn't see him. About 9 or 10 months in, I called and I talked to his assistant, and I wanted to tell the doctor that I was having amazing results. I had a heart attack 7 years ago, actually. Right after my friend died, I had a heart attack. So I have 2 stents in my artery near the heart. And because I was all clogged up from all that junk I was eating. Now I feel amazingly good. I don't think there's any problem anymore of having a heart attack, but the cardiologist still has me on his roll. So once you have a heart attack, you have heart disease forever, as far as they're concerned. Just like diabetes. I no longer have diabetes, but they call me diabetic still, even though I have no symptoms whatsoever of it. But I went to him actually a few weeks ago. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear anything about carnivore or diet and that stuff. It's all crazy to him. He didn't want to hear it. And he told me, I guess I don't need to see you for another year. That was all he had to say to me. And he asked if I was taking any of the pills anymore. I said, no, I stopped taking all the medication. I was on 7 or 8 medications for a while when I had the heart attack for several years. I was taking a variety of things. They wanted to put me on statins, but I refused statins. I don't trust statins. I never trusted them. I heard way too many bad stories about them. Talked me into taking red rice yeast, or red yeast rice, like that. I don't know what it was called. That stuff basically is a statin. It acts just like a statin. It's a natural, which is why I went to this cardiologist, because he leans towards some more natural and herbal orientation. He's willing to go that way. But I didn't need any statin. I don't think anybody needs statins, frankly. I watched Nick Norwith, a little study about statins versus Oreo cookies. And he found that Oreo cookies are better for you, better for your heart, and less harmful than statins. That convinced me this is definitely not a good idea to do.
Yeah, let me just comment on what he found was that Oreos were more effective at lowering LDL cholesterol and statins were in his particular situation, which is this lean mass hyperresponder
Right.
situation. So there's some nuance to that particular statement. But yeah, it's interesting that the doctors show no interest whatsoever in the fact that you've lost 100 pounds and reversed your diabetes. And were you hypertensive too? I didn't catch that if you were or not. So you're on a bunch of meds.
No, but I could have been. I was certainly a tense individual before.
You came off of like a whole host of medications, which obviously makes you got to feel better. You're not having to take meds. You're not.
I stopped taking all that.
Yeah, it's amazing when we just stop poisoning ourselves.
People are so sick from the pills they take, and then they take other pills to deal with why they're sick from other pills. This is a craziness there that I just don't agree with anymore. I think that doctors are doing us a disservice, unfortunately, by dealing with it that way.
Yeah, in a way. And as we're trying to change that paradigm, it's an uphill battle, but I think it's worth that fight for sure.
Well, yeah, my blood panel came back perfect, looking great. My LDL was a little bit high, but from everything I see now, LDL should be high, especially for somebody my age. Older somebody is, the higher their LDL goes. And that's what you want. People who die earlier have low LDL. I'm not messing with that. I'm not taking any pills to lower anything like that.
It's interesting. There was a study I came out, I think, Sweden recently, looking at those that make it to 100 years of age, or the centenarians, and they found that, interestingly, low glucose but high LDL or high total cholesterol was one of the characteristics that they saw, which was, we don't really, that's not something people want to highlight. It's interesting.
Yeah, I want to be in that group. I like that.
Like I said, as long as the quality of life, and again, it doesn't do you any good to get to 100 if you're miserable. And so it sounds like your would you, again, I've asked this question many times, LDL cholesterol is higher, maybe your risk for heart disease is up, maybe it's not. There's some evidence that perhaps it's not. Would you go back to your other diet to lower your LDL?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Not even for a minute. I wouldn't even think about it. I'm sorry. I don't want that pain back. I don't want that hip pain back. I don't want all my muscles to ache. I don't want to be the brain fog that I got rid of. There's an enormous amount of mental illness that I recognize now that I was suffering from. I was suffering from really a lot larger amount of depression than I thought I was suffering. I thought I was just not happy. No, I was depressed. I was very much, probably clinically depressed. I was not happy about anything. I had a lot of pain in my body, partly from being depressed and partly from all of this inflammation. And I was just not a happy guy. I was miserable. I was crabby. I grump about everything. My wife hated to be in traffic with me. I would just bitch my way through every traffic jam and everything. I would complain and yell and scream at people, and I was miserable. I was not a happy person to be around. Now I'm getting happy again. I'm enjoying life again. I'm feeling much better about a lot of things. So I'm far less grumpy a person, far less crabby. I'm a happy guy now, pretty much. I enjoy life. And somebody says that you want to go out for a beer, I'll say, no, but I'll go out. I'll go out and have a sparkling water. I don't. Last night I went to an open mic and I had beer. And I felt stupid. I felt wrong for it. I felt, afterward. I don't really drink beer anymore. Somebody wanted to buy me a beer. I thought, oh, why not? I'll be nice. And I drank most of it. And no, I'm not a beer drinker anymore. I used to like beer. I don't like what it does to me. Nah, don't like it anymore.
Yeah, the last beer I drank, and I can remember specifically, was in 2010. I'd won the Highland Games World Championships. I just won a World Championship. Somebody said, "Hey, let me give you a beer." And even then I didn't really like it. I wasn't drinking it much. And I opened it up, had a sip, and said, "No thanks, I don't like this stuff." So I haven't had beer in probably since my 30s. I bet. I
think it's going to hit up me. Where I play is where there's beer. I play in a lot of brew pubs and stuff. So But that's all they have is beer. Occasionally they have a little wine. I do a little wine, not much. Actually, my wife and I belong to a little wine club in Snohomish. And every Friday tonight, we get together with a bunch of friends and we do wine tasting. Little taste. Your thing wine tasting is a little bit. Taste of this, taste of that. And that's all I do. That's the only wine I have all week and everything. I don't really drink wine.
You need to find a barbecue circuit to play at. Like there must be some like barbecue competitions, or they probably would like some music, perhaps.
Yeah, someplace that isn't doing isn't brewing beer. That's where the music happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. A lot of that.
I'm playing with two bands now. I'm playing with another band tomorrow night at a restaurant over in Duval, not far from us. And tomorrow evening, yeah. So we're playing, and I look forward to that. And I get to have a meal out of it, and no beer. I have sparkling water. That's my beer now.
Yeah, the tough thing I see it with musicians and other people that are in entertainment is the hours are weird because it's often late nights.
Right.
And it's usually it used to be in smoke-filled arenas, and thankfully that's probably less. I guess maybe there's still some places where there's a lot of smoking, maybe outdoor events, but it's gone away. But yeah, it's tough because there's other aspects of health, and I think the life of particularly a traveling musician has got to be probably one of the worst for sleep, for just overall nutrition, for all those things that go into that.
Touring is really hard on musicians. Really hard. You eat out everywhere. You eat somewhere different every time you eat. You eat somewhere else, another city, and some actually travel with food. Some musicians will travel with a suitcase of food so that they can eat something that is remotely like what they prefer or feel okay. But a lot of musicians just wing it. Go to wherever they have burgers or whatever, and they're not eating well. They're not doing well.
Yeah, I guess the nice thing with Carnivore, you can usually find a burger patty somewhere, and most towns have a burger shack that you can go to, so you can at least make that. And I try to, when I travel, if I can get someplace that has a little kitchenette, and I'll cook my own more often than not, or I'll resort to burger patties and things like that. Bill, we've got just a couple minutes left. Any other words of wisdom or anything you want to share? I don't think you have a big social media. Maybe you do. I don't know, but
I don't yet. But I'm starting one actually. I'm starting a YouTube channel myself. So it'll have my name on it, Bill Flegging. Last name is spelled P like Peter, F like Frank, Leging. So Bill Flegging, BillFlegging.com is my website, but it's all music right now. But I'm going to do some YouTube stuff, and I'm going to be talking about carnivore as well. I'll do some music on my channel, but I'm also going to talk about carnivore as a musician dealing with carnivore. Because when you play a gig, you got to eat afterwards somewhere. And so a lot of times it's a restaurant that's somewhere around. So how do you deal with that? I have tips I can help people with how to order at an odd restaurant. It doesn't do, it would be nice to play only at Brazilian restaurants, but unfortunately.
You might have to sing in Portuguese, perhaps. Yeah. Do that. I don't know. What, just for those, just because I know I got a couple seconds here, what type of music, how would you classify your type of music for people that are interested in maybe listening to some of your music?
I would call it, I guess, Americana. I don't know. I'm a songwriter. I write blues. I write country. I write rock. I write pop. My songs cross a lot of different areas. So I can write a song for a country singer. I can write a song for a rock band. They vary. But my songs, I pretty much do with acoustic guitar, generally. It's pretty well that way. I have my CD is on my website, BillFlegging.com. And you can go and you can just click play and hear my whole CD if you want there. I'm working on a new CD. I have a lot more songs that I don't have on the recording. I'm on Facebook at Bilbo, Bilbeau. I'm on X or the old Twitter. I'm on there as Bill Bilbo because somebody had Bilbo. So it's Bilbeau. It's Bilbo. I call it a French hobbit. I'm on there, and I dabble with Instagram, and I just joined the Telegram just for curiosity, and there's a bunch of them out there. Mostly I'm on Facebook and I'm on YouTube. And I'm starting my YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel, and there's a couple of things up there of me playing music, but there's going to be a lot more soon. I'm starting to record some.
All right, Bill, well, we're just out of time. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm sure I'll see you soon. So thanks for doing this.
And I appreciate joining your group, Doc. It's wonderful. And I recommend to anybody who wants to try that find a carnivore group. There's nothing more important than having a support group that you can talk to and get information from. They can help you if you're feeling weird and you can't talk to a wonderful doctor like Dr. Baker here, then talk to your group. It's very important to have a community of people that can encourage you and help you through.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks.